Hello, YouTube. Today, for our 30-day organizing challenge, we are talking all things kitchen organizing because your challenge today is to organize your entire kitchen. That could seem like super stressful and, really overwhelming. So we're going to break it down for effective ways in which you can organize your kitchen. So you're going to come along with me as I kind of like walk you through where to start with organizing. I have my notes right here so I can stay focused. I'm going to move my notes right here. Boop. Okay. So first thing, where to start when organizing your kitchen. Most people, when they set up their kitchen from like moving into your house, you just kind of like, I've seen this a lot. You just throw things into the space and are like, okay, well, I'll deal with it later. Well, the problem is you don't always deal with it later. So today is later, and we're going to deal with it. What you are going to do is, instead of saying I'm going to organize my entire kitchen, because I'm sure some areas of your kitchen are completely legit and like work for you, what you're going to do, you're going to get a Post-it note, you're going to get a marker, and you're going to go around and look in every single drawer and every single cabinet and decide what is not working and what is. Then on the Post-it note, you are going to write fix or leave. This way, it will give you a very clear idea of which drawers or cabinets or space that you need that you actually have to reorganize. Okay, so you don't have to do all of the things. If where your plates are, if where your cups are, if they're working for you, then why change it up? You don't have to do that. But maybe your kitchen utensil drawer is like a big old hot mess and you are looking to, reorganize that. Well, then put fix on your Post-it note. Or if your kitchen gadget drawer is kind of like out of control, then write fix on that one. Maybe you have a couple of drawers that are question mark, like you don't know, like they're fine, but like they could possibly be better. So if that's the case, then I want you to write question mark on it. And that's going to be really important later because as you go through and you do everything, then you will see what actually is of like top priority, because that's the one with fix. The ones that are leave, you're not going to touch. And the question mark ones are going to come into play as we get going. So first, label all of your cabinets and drawers. Like open them up and really ask yourself, is this necessary to stay here? Is this working? Am I happy with this drawer, or is this just a pain in the tush? Figure that out, write it down. And then once that's done, now we're going to empty out the fix drawers and the fix cabinets. Those are the ones you're emptying. Not all of them, just those. So you're going to take all your stuff out. Like if your sandwich bag drawer isn't working, take all the stuff out. Like we have a lot of reusable bags. And because of that, sometimes this drawer gets really crazy because these do not, there's a couple of tricks to like keeping them organized, but if you have a narrow or like shallow drawer, these can be tricky to organize. So you can pull all of the stuff out from that drawer and lay it out on your counter. So once all of that is out, you are going to grab another piece of paper. You can also do it on a note card or a Post-it note too. That's totally fine. But you're going to need something else to write on, because as we go through and we set things up, you are going to need to take inventory of what you have. The reason why we have to do inventory is I need you to write down what you have in case you go to another drawer where you might have like a duplicate of something. So taking inventory is how you're going to check and make sure you are not repeating yourself with like items. Okay, so I have a story for you. So I had a client who we unpacked for a move. These are vegetable peelers. She had like 8 of them in all sorts of different drawers as we kind of like unpacked her stuff. Found out she didn't know what she had in her drawers. So we rounded them all up and we were like, okay, do you really need 8? The reason why we have two, this is a left-handed vegetable peeler because my husband is left-handed. This is a right-handed vegetable peeler. Yes, there is a thing, and it is so weird, but because of how like the little peeler thing is for like left-handed peeling, so that's why we have two, and they both get used quite frequently. Me and the kids use this one. My husband uses this one, but we have two for that reason. So make sure that you keep an inventory of what you have, just in case, like, what if you don't need a left-handed vegetable peeler? Then like, do you need to keep it in your kitchen? Probably not. So keeping inventory is going to be crucial for the following steps. So that's why I like a piece of paper, because then you can just like write everything down. If you are faster at typing, open up a spreadsheet, type in all of your stuff. And then if you aren't sure, you can just search your spreadsheet to see if you have that item in your spreadsheet. It's another easy way to do it. If you have like a lot of items, or you're just faster at typing. Some people are faster at typing than writing. If that's you, do it. Then after all your stuff is taken out, you have paper to start taking inventory. You're going to use Post-its again. And on these, we are going to start, and it's called space planning. My friend, Organized by JWC, her name's Janelle, she is the one that introduced me to this term because I never knew what to call it. And she's the one that calls it space planning. So, credit where credit is due. So Janelle calls it space planning. And I'm like, this makes so much sense. So space planning is where you basically plan out where things go in your space. I never knew of like a good term for it, and I love this term, so we're going to go with it. So on your Post-it note, you are going to write down. So let's say we have small kitchen gadgets. So I'm going to write on my Post-it note, small kitchen gadgets. Okay, so on my Post-it note, small kitchen gadgets. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to put on the cabinet or drawer that I think the small kitchen gadget should go into as I'm scanning the items that are out on my counter. You can easily see. Depending on how much stuff you have out, you may want to try grouping before you head to this step. But most of the time, it ends up being just like a couple of drawers. So you can do a quick scan to kind of see like what items you have to start your space planning. So then you're just going to take your Post-it note, you're going to stick it on your cabinet or drawer, and then you are able to see what or like where you want your stuff to be. And the reason why I love Post-it notes, if you start putting stuff in the drawer or the cabinet and you're like, yeah, this isn't going to work, move the Post-it note. Instead of like coming up with like a whole new thing, you can just move the Post-it note so that it makes more sense to, where and how you want to use your stuff. So as you're doing this, as you are kind of, setting up, you can group your items based on, type of stuff they are. Most of the time when you empty out a drawer cabinet, they typically are mostly together. You might just need to like declutter a couple of things. But I'm saying typically what I've seen when I've worked with in-home clients and my virtual clients, it's the grouping of the stuff in the drawer or in the cabinet basically all goes together, which is why I'm recommending writing it down on a Post-it. And then before you put anything back, we're going to declutter. So I was going to say something and I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. So as you're writing those things down, and then you are going to scan your items that you have for that particular category. And I remember what I was going to say. Then what I want you to do is pretend like you are actually going to go look for that item. Pretend that you are cooking at your stove, okay? You're cooking. What do you usually grab when you're cooking? Well, I usually grab a pot or a pan. So what makes the most sense for the pot? Right by the stove. That is a great thing to have right by your stove. What about your cooking gadgets? Oh, they're right by the stove as well, so I can pull out a wooden spoon so I can do my job. And the reason why I like playing it out is so you can see where you grab for things. When we first moved into this kitchen, this drawer right here is our spice drawer. We actually had all of the cooking utensils in this one, but notice it was like a real pain to get to the spices, which were in this drawer. So we ended up flip-flopping them because as we kind of like use the kitchen, we realized, well, we have to kind of switch it up. So that's why I say like pretend you're acting out these things so that you can then, take your stuff and see where it goes and what logically makes sense to you as you're doing those things. As you are taking things out of shelves and cabinets, you can also see what is working and what is not, because like you already wrote on a Post-it note, you have to fix this cabinet. Why do you have to fix that cabinet? Are things in the way? Are things not working? Are things, just basically like this entire cabinet is a waste. I can move that somewhere else. Those are all things that you have to think about as you start space planning. So I want you to like pretend to like act it out, put the Post-it notes where you see it, and then start putting the stuff away. As you're putting it away, ask yourself these questions. These are my like really big questions that I love asking. So, do you use it? That's easy. Yes or no. Is this item something you use every day or week? Because in the kitchen, we do have a lot of things we don't use daily. We have a lot of things that we don't use weekly. We have things we use seasonally. A lot of things we use seasonally. Like, let's talk about baking items. Not all baking items are used throughout the year. Like, I know a lot of clients have specific holiday baking trays, platters, baked dishes, you put in the oven to like get like the Christmas cookies and that kind of thing. So if that's you, then maybe those items don't need to stay in your kitchen if they are causing your space to feel cluttered. So look at those items and how you use it. Do you use this every day? Do you use this every week? Is this something that, do you have another gadget that can replace this item? So I have a story for you. Okay. This thing, it is a strawberry DC like topper, I guess. Like you pulled the top off of the strawberry. We were given this as a gift. I never use it. I thought this thing was silly. I'm like, I could just use a knife to do this exact same thing. My kids can pull the tops off with this thing. That's why we keep it. But if this is something you have in your house that you're like, I don't use this, I just have a knife. This item can be replaced by a knife. Then I want you to actually, well, if it can be replaced by a knife, does it need to take up space in my house? Probably not. Same thing can go for many other items. I love this thing. I think it is amazing, but it's basically the same thing as a grater. So we had a grater and we had the zester, the microplane thing. They pretty much do the same thing, but we use this one more than we've used a grater. So we kept this instead. You can find things that can replace your, if you can replace it with something else that you already have that you need, like knife, then do that. And then you can easily declutter those particular items. Now, with kitchen gadgets, a lot of times, you have a rice cooker. Well, I'm going to tell you a story. We had a rice cooker. We had a risotto maker. We had a crock pot. We had an air fryer. We had a, what's the other thing? Instapot. We had all those things. Guess what? One thing can do all those things, the Instapot, so we got rid of everything else. Because if you have one gadget that can do the work of specialized gadgets, those specialized gadgets, if you don't use them regularly, do not serve the same purpose as the one gadget that can do all the things. Now, I have had clients, they use the rice maker at least once a week. So that was something we didn't, because they used it. So everybody has their own thing that works well for them, that is going to benefit and that they use, and then other people don't. The vegetable peeler, the thing that makes like zucchini noodles, that's something, if you don't use it, you don't need it. You can get the same effect with a knife. You can get the same effect with the peelers, same effect with that, you don't need the fancy gadget. But if you use that gadget daily, if you use that gadget weekly, then it is worth keeping for you. So when I say declutter, I'm saying declutter what is not useful to you. What's not useful to you is not going to be the same for me or your neighbor or your friend or that other blogger that you follow or those people on TV. It's not the same. You need to find what works for you, what you're using and what you're not using. And that's how you declutter kitchen items. So asking yourself, do you use this daily? Do you use it weekly? Can it be replaced by another gadget or something in the kitchen that you just can't part with, like a knife? Then you know, yes, I need to keep this in the kitchen. So then you space planned, you figured out where it's going to go. So then start putting those things in where they belong. It's going to make it really easy for you to kind of just like then move the stuff, boom, 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 boom. Take inventory of what you have. If you notice that things are just kind of like piling up, if you notice you have a lot of stuff, or if after this, declutter, put away, organize session, then if you are going to go back and check all of your cabinets, now you have an inventory list to be like, okay, in this cabinet, oh, I see I have, this immersion blender. Okay, I have this immersion blender with like some of the parts, but I put the other parts over here. So because I wrote it down, I know that my immersion blender, all the parts should be over here together in one spot. So that's why I recommend the inventory list. I told you it would come in handy later. Now, there's like, once it's all done, then you already labeled your drawers and your cabinets. This Post-it note counts as a label. I've had in-home clients that have kept these on. They just, honestly, they taped them to their cabinet and they're like, these work perfect. Like, we don't need anything fancy. This works for everybody in the house. If that's you, do it. If you want fancy labels, leave these on for like a week just to see if this is actually working for you, because maybe where you change the small kitchen gadgets isn't totally working because you always need something else and it's just not working. So keep these on just so you can see before you do any formal, fancy, more permanent labels. Then all the remaining stuff that you have out, because you're not going to be able to put everything back because you're going to be asking yourself these questions. So you're going to have two piles. You're going to have a pile of stuff to get rid of, and then you're going to have a pile of things that I don't use every day or week, but I can't part with them, like my Jell-O mold. So my Jell-O mold, I keep in a cabinet, like not in like this vicinity, because we only use it about like 2-3 times a year. So I have space for kind of like seasonal bakeware in my kitchen, but not everybody does. So if you don't, then find a spot for seasonal bakeware. Our gravy boats, I have them wrapped up in like nice china holders, and they are in our basement with our Thanksgiving stuff because that's the only time we use them is Thanksgiving. So you can also keep those items in with your holiday decor so that they aren't taking up space in your kitchen, and you don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, where is that where is that one platter that I only use for this one holiday? Like, where is it? It's always going to be with your holiday stuff. So you never have to worry about where that item is going to go or not. So when you have your 2 items left, you're going to have the donate or sell pile. If you are going to sell, make sure you watch my donate or sell video here on YouTube, where I go through all the things you have to consider when donating and how to sell so that your product actually gets sold quickly. I will link in here as well. So make sure you figure out how you're going to sell or donate and go do that work. All seasonal items store together, store with seasonal, like with your other seasonal items, store somewhere else in your kitchen, plates, platters, all of that kind of stuff. They can all go together if you like keeping them all together. Again, that's a personal preference type of thing. I can't answer that for you. Nobody else can answer that for you, but I can give you suggestions as to what to do. If you have space for your platters, then store them with your platters. Maybe keep them down at the bottom of the shelf with your platters so that you know all holiday decor platter stuff is at the bottom, and all, everyday platters are up at the top of your cabinet. That way you are able to find those platters when you need them for the holiday season. And then clear those things away, and you have just decluttered and organized your kitchen. So I'm just going to do a quick recap of those steps, and then we're going to talk specifically about storing kitchen equipment with many parts. So to start organizing your kitchen, first go through every cabinet and drawer and write fix or keep or question mark or stay. Fix, stay, question mark on a Post-it on every single drawer or cabinet. Then the ones that say fix, you're going to pull out the stuff that's in there. The question mark items, or the question mark drawers, are in case you need to move some of the drawers or cabinets that you fixed, then you know, like, that's an okay cabinet or drawer to move something into, and then you can start the whole process that way. That's why I like making some question mark drawers. Like, okay, one client, they had all their mixing bowls stacked in a cabinet, but the cabinet was so high. The woman was like my height, like 5'2", couldn't reach a lot of the top mixing bowls, but they were all the way up at the top. So every time she needed a mixing bowl, she had to get a step stool. She said it really didn't bother her, so we put a question mark on that cabinet, ended up taking all the mixing bowls out, putting them in a drawer, and then using that cabinet for other things. Like, there were a lot of seasonal items that she wanted to keep in her cabinets. So those top shelves are what the seasonal items, because she didn't use them all the time. So she only had to pull out the step ladder occasionally for those items. But the question mark drawers or cabinets are perfect if you need to switch things out, if you need to move things where they, like something else could possibly go there. It would be a better fit, even though that cabinet like is fine, but it like could switch up. So that's why I like those question mark drawers. Once you finish taking them out, and then you're going to write down all the different categories that you have. You can either do like the visual scan of the categories you have out on your counters, or you can group all of those items and then write Post-it notes for each type of category that you have. Put them on the cabinets that say fix or question mark, and then that's called space planning. So you can kind of like see what should go where. Then as you put the items back, ask yourself, do I use this daily? Do I use this weekly? And does this item have, like, can this item be replaced by another item that I already have in my kitchen? Then put all those items away and keep the labels on for like a week. And then you can decide if you want like more formal labels, like label maker label on the inside or maybe on the shelves. Maybe you don't even care and you're like, this is fine how it is. Do whatever works for you. I would suggest, to keeping it up and maintaining it, you add some sort of label, just so everyone in the family knows what is happening and what should go where, because you just did like a big change for placement of those items. You're also going to want to take inventory of the items that you have, and then go through other drawers and cabinets to make sure that there aren't things in those drawers or cabinets that could possibly be placed somewhere else, because, maybe you had some parts somewhere else. Maybe, you didn't realize you already had a spot for all of your wooden spoons in another part of your kitchen. And so then having that inventory list is going to help you kind of streamline all of the items in your kitchen without pulling everything out. Now, if you are looking for a total overhaul, then take everything out, clean down every single drawer, and then start from scratch. But not everybody is like really able and willing to do that. And so if you're not there, then try this method as to where to start. Now, kitchen equipment with like many parts. What I always recommend, I'm going to grab mine. So I keep them in a bin. I think it's so helpful. We don't like cut ourselves with, some of the blades and stuff. So everything in here is for our immersion blender. That's like, the blender you stick in that like cuts stuff, whatever. We use this all the time, but it comes with so many parts. So, this is like the top, and then this is for the like holder thing, like this holder thing, just all of the, like, there's just so many pieces to the immersion blender that storing it in a bin is super helpful because it keeps it all together. Now, I have ours stored in a drawer. If you're storing it in a cabinet, in our old kitchen, this was in a cabinet. I had a label right here, immersion blender. So I knew exactly where this was. It was on a shelf. I measured the shelf. I measured the depth of the shelf. So I knew I would get a bin the exact size so I could easily pull it out with all of the parts for our immersion blender. That's like my biggest tip to organizing different equipment with lots of parts. Now, sometimes like our Instapot, all of the items go inside the Instapot, and then I turn the lid upside down so it'll fit in our cabinet. Because of the handle of the Instapot, it does come up. But if you turn it upside down into the pot, the surface is shallower or smaller. So it will fit into my cabinet easier. And all of the parts and pieces for the Instapot are stored inside the Instapot with the top upside down. For our big standing mixer, all of the parts are stored inside the bowl, and that's stored inside a cabinet as well. So I like to keep them as close to the actual like small kitchen gadget as I possibly can. And so I recommend that you kind of like keep all those pieces together. So it is super easy to hold it all together, and you can find what you need. So our mixer, again, I have our mixer these are in the same drawer. I do want to specify these two things are in the same drawer. My bins don't match. Do I care? No, because this bin is perfect for this size. These are the gadgets that go with the hand mixer. It fits nicely in here. And so I don't care that they aren't the exact same thing. This serves the purpose of containing all of this together. This one serves the purpose of containing all of these things together. I don't recommend spending all your time trying to find bins that all match and whatever. Find bins that'll work for you and just go. Like, don't overthink the binning of the things. Both of these bins I got at Home Goods. I do have some other bins that I love. These bins are from the Container Store. They're stackable. I love them for like pantry. I think they're great because you can grab things in and out. So these are some that I really like. I do also like these clear bins as well. They hold our snacks in a drawer. Also like some drawer organizers. Let me show you some drawer organizers now. These are some of my favorites. They are bamboo. These hold all of our mixing items or like measuring cups and spoons. So all of these are together in a drawer organizer. These are called drawer organizers. These are called bins. You can kind of see the drawer organizer is shallow. The bin is deeper. Then there's also something called a drawer divider. This just separates things inside a drawer. So I use this drawer dividers in my like mixing drawer, whatever these things are called. So all of our wooden spoons are together, all of our grilling items are together, and they're all separated by the drawer divider. I don't know why, there's just so many different like names for these products, but like that's what they're called. Also in the kitchen, I do love using trays. I like using trays to kind of like contain like fruits, vegetables, and other items that might be out on the counter. That way they don't kind of like go everywhere. I also like using trays if you're looking for something to hold on with, kids' papers. They come in, they drop their paper on the counter in the kitchen, and you're like, oh my gosh, it just takes over. I lose things, whatever. Use a tray as your collection station. And then this is where all the papers go. So they're all contained into like one spot. I had a client, she had 3 kiddos. She had an au pair and she always had like papers everywhere. So we ended up using a tray for like containing all of her papers on her desk in the kitchen. And every day she was able to go through those, look to see what was like actionable that day at that moment in time, and then do it. Like if it was a permission slip, if she needed to, pay her au pair, any of that kind of stuff, she was able to set it all up because there was one particular spot in her kitchen that collected all the paper. It was like such a lifesaver for her. So I highly recommend that if the paper clutter is just kind of like too much. So I went over a lot of things. Down below where you're watching this video, I have links to my favorite products. I have links to other tips and tricks to organizing your kitchen, and all of my strategies and everything are included below. So make sure that you go check that out, and please join the 30-day organizing challenge if you haven't already. We are tackling one space a day for the entire month of October. It's like organizing in October. Probably what I should have called the challenge, but it's 30-day organizing challenge. So I hope that I answered your questions. If not, please leave a comment. Let me know. I'm happy to answer, and I will see you all soon. All right.